City of Los Angeles Disaster Service Worker Training.
Hello, I'm Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. Welcome to the City of Los Angeles Disaster Service Worker Training. This training is meant to prepare each of you as employees of the City of Los Angeles. In case of a disaster, you will play an important role in our ability to respond. Disaster service workers provide services and aid during a declared emergency, disaster, or catastrophic event. In Los Angeles, we live with the very real possibility of disasters occurring, from earthquakes and fires to health pandemics and terrorist events. It's the duty of local government to be ready to respond to the needs of our community in an emergency. I ask you to take this training to heart. My hope is that you'll never need to put this training to use, but it's crucial that you're prepared to protect yourself and your family in a crisis. Then, in an emergency, we can all work together, respond to the needs of our communities, and help in the recovery of our great city. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jim Featherstone, General Manager of the Emergency Management Department. As Mayor Villaraigosa just mentioned, it's our duty as employees of the City of Los Angeles to help the city respond to and recover from disasters. We do this best when you are prepared, at home and on the job. The City of Los Angeles faces 13 of the 16 major disasters identified by the federal government. In any disaster scenario, as a disaster service worker, employees of the City of Los Angeles will play a vital role in our response and recovery. The information presented in this training will help you better understand your role as a disaster service worker and what steps you can take now to have a plan in place. Being prepared could save your life. Thank you for doing your part to make the City of Los Angeles a more prepared place for all. Let's get started.
California Government Code Section 3100 to 3109 states that all public employees are declared to be disaster service workers, or DSWs, subject to such disaster service activities as may be assigned to them by their superiors or by law. When a worker begins employment with the City of Los Angeles, you are made aware of your role as a disaster service worker and asked to sign the loyalty oath that you will view, print, and sign at the end of this training. In addition, each city department is required to have their own emergency response and recovery plan, as well as a continuity of operations plan. These plans are on file with your office and with the Emergency Management Department. Executive Directive 16 is the guidance for the Disaster Service Worker program within the city. In it, you can find program definitions and authorities as they relate to our city.
In view of both the California Government Code and your role in the application of that law as a disaster service worker, this training will explain what being a DSW means, various disaster service roles that the state of California has established, and how you may be assigned to one of these roles, training requirements and the general duties of a disaster service worker, preparedness at home, at the office, and on the go. To meet these objectives, we'll work through this training in sections as shown here. You'll need to go through each section in order. At the end of the training, you'll take the final review quiz and print out the disaster service worker oath. Let's get started.
As mentioned by Mayor Villaraigosa, disaster service workers provide services and aid during a declared emergency, disaster, or catastrophic event. Team, what can you share about each employee's role as a DSW?
First, as a City of Los Angeles employee, you are required to perform duties as a disaster service worker when the mayor declares a citywide emergency.
That's right. During a declared citywide emergency, you may be required to report to work, and you may be assigned to disaster service work at any time. While every attempt will be made to assign employees to DSW tasks that are similar to their regular work duties, as a DSW, you may be assigned to a disaster service activity that you may not do as part of your day-to-day work assignment.
In addition, you're considered to be acting within the scope of disaster service duties while assisting any unit of the City of Los Angeles Emergency Operations Organization or performing any act contributing to the protection of life or property or mitigating the effects of an emergency or potential emergency while under the supervision of a superior in the emergency organization or under the supervision and direction of the American Red Cross.
For example, you may be asked to help with reception at a shelter or with distribution of food or water. Whatever you're asked to do, it will not be beyond your abilities or qualifications.
I think it's important to note that in all cases, these service activities will not include the public safety, emergency response, and medical duties typically associated with law enforcement, fire services, and/or emergency medical services unless that is already your day-to-day job. Assignments, however, may require that your disaster service work be at locations and in conditions different from your normal work assignment, and even organized into daily and/or hourly shifts instead of your normal work hours. In addition, your DSW duties may continue into the recovery phase of the emergency.
Thanks, everyone. I think that gives us a strong overview of the general role of a disaster service worker. It may sound a bit overwhelming when you hear about your role as a disaster service worker for the first time. You can rest assured that there is no plan to put administrative staff in situations such as a medical emergency. We have highly trained emergency medical response employees for that. Let's take a moment to talk about the role an administrative person might actually play.
The state of California has created 13 DSW job categories. Job categories fall into two divisions, specialized and general.
City employees that do not have specialized DSW skills will be given DSW assignments under one of the general division categories.
That's right. Each employee's department supervisor, personnel representative, or the personnel department will provide the employee with a DSW general assignment based on the needs of the city during a declared citywide emergency. If assigned to a general division category, the duties could include clerical support, damage assessment, driving, food preparation, interpreting, providing security, sorting, packing, loading, or a number of other tasks. City departments will assign their employees to appropriate DSW categories based on the department's full-time needs and the employee's day-to-day job classification. The departments will align the classifications with the DSW job assignments.
Other agencies also have disaster service workers and volunteers who provide assistance when a disaster occurs. They help in providing blood collection, shelter, mass feeding, and reception center coordination, transportation plans, and evacuation vehicles.
An emergency can happen quickly and often without warning. In a major disaster or emergency, it may take several days for vital services to be restored. Having a plan is one of the most important steps you can take in disaster preparedness. Knowing what to do and how to do it can help you and your family manage disasters with less worry, fear, and uncertainty.
Let's talk next about the resources that are available to help you get prepared.
The way I see it, there are several ways you can be prepared, with a plan at home, at work, and on the go. And while the preparation process can seem overwhelming if you haven't started, there are a variety of resources available to make it easier.
There's the city's Ready LA website. It contains information about how to prepare for a variety of situations. There's information on 16 different types of disasters, along with preparedness tips for persons with access or functional needs, those taking care of seniors or children, schools, businesses, and nonprofits.
There's also the city's Emergency Management Department website, www.emergency.lacity.org. This website has information on the city's planning and preparedness efforts, as well as helpful information for employees and residents of the City of Los Angeles. Did you know there's a guide to family and home preparedness that takes you step by step through the preparedness process with checklists and reminders of what to include in an emergency kit? The guide suggests that you commit a weekend to preparing your plan, creating emergency cards, making copies of important documents, and collecting the supplies for your emergency kit.
And the Red Cross has a website for Southern California as well, preparesocal.org.
The city is also preparing for a disaster. Each department has emergency plans that may be activated in the event of a disaster. The city also has an emergency operations center, which is ready to coordinate planning, training, response, and recovery efforts. The City of Los Angeles has made readiness a priority in policy and practice. The websites everyone shared are great resources. As part of being prepared, the Emergency Management Department has suggested 7 steps to safety. The 7 steps are: find out what disasters could occur. Create, practice, and maintain your family disaster plan. Plan for family members with special needs and for your pets. Pick an out-of-state contact for family members to call if they get separated by a disaster. Complete a home hazard hunt. Check for anything that can move, fall, break, or cause a fire. Prepare a disaster supply kit for your home. Be prepared to be on your own for up to 3 days. Prepare an emergency kit for your vehicle and for at work. Let's talk about each of the steps.
Los Angeles is prone to 13 of 16 possible federally identified natural and man-made threats. Los Angeles is particularly vulnerable to the destructive effects of wildfires, flooding, mudslides, and earthquakes. Because of the many threats that Los Angeles faces, the importance of readiness as a city and for residents cannot be overstated. Part of disaster preparedness is being aware of the kinds of hazards and disasters you might be subject to living in Los Angeles. The Emergency Management Department and the American Red Cross gives more information about each type of disaster on their websites.
Now that we know what can occur, let's talk about creating a family disaster plan. What are some of the items that should include?
The Ready LA and Red Cross websites have checklists and planning tools available to help you get started. And while setting up the plan in the first place is important, practicing and maintaining that plan is important too. I've taught each of my kids and my wife how to locate and turn off the gas main and other utilities. Information on how to do that is located on the Ready LA website too. We've each practiced how to use a fire extinguisher, and we've gone over the drop, cover, and hold on drill relating to earthquakes and the stop, drop, and roll drill relating to fires.
Growing up in Los Angeles, I've been in my share of earthquakes, so I know the drop, cover, and hold on drill well. First, move to the floor against an interior wall or under a desk or chair. Shield your head and neck with your arms and hold on until the shaking stops. I've had my daughter Rochelle practice it many times too.
Duplicate important documents and take an inventory of your valuables in writing and with photographs or video. Keep these copies off-site. You can place them in a safe deposit box or, better yet, send them to a trusted friend or relative far away from your area.
Our family disaster plan includes checking on my parents. They live about 30 minutes away from us in a retirement community. The Guide to Family and Home Preparedness does mention thinking about the special needs of children, seniors, or individuals with disabilities and access and functional needs, non-English speaking family members, and pets.
It's also important to designate someone as an out-of-area contact person, preferably someone that is far enough away not to be affected by the same emergency.
Each of your family members should know this person's number and be told to call this person and tell him or her where they are if they are not together during the event.
Also, give the person the contact information of the people you want to keep informed of your situation, and make sure each member of your family knows the out-of-area contact information.
In today's digital world, many people have our cell phone numbers programmed in our cell phones and no longer in our memory. So it's smart to create emergency contact information cards for each of your family members to carry at all times in case cell phones aren't working. Phone lines may be down or overloaded after a disaster. Make sure everyone in your family knows how to send a simple text message in case you can't make a call.
Next, Take time as a family to go around your residence and identify areas that need to be secured or repaired. This could include securing or relocating large objects like pictures, mirrors, or shelves that are located near beds or couches. It may be attaching cabinets or refrigerators so they will not fall or move. Again, the Guide to Family and Home Preparedness contains a checklist of items to hunt for as you look for hazards in your home. That brings us to the Disaster Supply Kit.
After a major disaster, it is unlikely that emergency response services will be able to immediately respond to everyone's needs. So it's important to be prepared to take care of yourself and your family. Plan to be on your own for at least the first 72 hours or 3 days. We do need to assemble a lot of items. Think of it as if you were taking a camping trip. In fact, really, we need to create 2 kits. A disaster supply kit that stays at home, and a go bag for each person in case we need to evacuate. We've assembled some checklists to assist you in pulling all of the items together. These checklists are available at the dswready.lacity.org website.
One other very important scenario we need to address as far as preparedness is our work environment. We spend so much of our time at work. How can we be prepared there as well?
If the worst happens and your building is collapsing or filling with smoke, you don't want to take the time to figure out where the exits are and the evacuation routes. Make a conscious effort to locate those now.
And as you did at home, it's best to pack a workplace go bag. Consider what you would need for your immediate safety. It can be something relatively small that you can store in your file cabinet, a desk drawer, or a locker. As you can see shown here, we have included some suggested items. As with the other disaster supply kits, a checklist for this kit can be found and printed at dswready.lacity.org.
During our discussion, we've learned about the role of a disaster service worker, the types of jobs you may be asked to perform, and we've talked through the resources available to help you plan and prepare for yourself and your family, and the various disasters Southern California might face. As you know, in a time of disaster when people are in greatest need, they turn to their government for help. Will you be ready to help? We, as disaster service workers, have a responsibility to respond to that disaster in any way we can, to help with the skills that we already have or receive through training. This will ensure this city, our home, and our community is restored and protected. This project was funded through the Regional Catastrophic Preparedness Grant Program, RCPGP, fiscal year 2009. This concludes the City of Los Angeles Disaster Service Worker Training Course. In order to complete the program, you are now required to take the accompanying DSW exam, which consists of 10 questions. You will need to pass the quiz with a score of 70% or better. Once you have finished the exam, return it to your supervisor, department personnel officer, or test proctor in order to receive your course completion certificate. You will also need to complete the Loyalty Oath Form 132B and keep a copy of it in your personnel file. For more information on the DSW program, preparedness tips, and additional training opportunities, visit dswready.lacity.org.